Hello and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Gracia and I have an exciting show tonight. My guest has actually been on the show before, but never solo. So this is going to be really, really fun. He's a friend of mine, but not just being a friend. He's a writer, he's a creator, he's a letterer, he's a podcaster. All right. Let me just bring him on because I want to get started talking to Jorge Medina. Hey, how's it
Mud,
going?
what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing very good. Before we get started, scrolling across the bottom, guys, is George's website. Has everything. You can get his social media there. You can get everything there. His books, so which we're going to talk about tonight.
Yes, yes, indeed.
So anybody watching, you guys, hey, Pyramid Graphic Novels, hello.
All right, Jerry, what's going on, Jerry?
Yes. What we're going to do is if you have comments or questions, just ask. But let's get started. So before we get into your books, you know what I always like to do? I always like to find out a little bit of what got you into comics. Who were your influences? What were you reading as a kid or as an adult whenever it hit you? So kind of give us a little
Y-
background on you.
Yeah. Okay, so I was born in Ecuador,
Mm,
way back in the day, late 70s.
okay.
And growing up in Ecuador, I wasn't into comics. I had aunts who were teachers, art teachers, and
Uh-huh.
I was more into like the comic strips. So like Beetle Bailey, they were translated obviously in Spanish,
Yeah, yeah.
but I was reading that stuff when I was a little kid. It wasn't until I came to the States and I was like about 7 years old that I started, getting into like the cartoons, and then when I was in junior high, that's when I picked up my first comic. So
Mm.
my love for creating stories didn't come from comic books. It came more from like comic strips and the cartoons that I was watching growing up as a
And
kid.
that's what started for me too. I didn't
Yeah,
start collecting comics until 1989 when I was 13.
about the
Be-
same time.
Before that, everything for me was comic strips and
Mhm.
animated cartoons.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
100% the same way. That's why in the late 80s, I was all about the Disney afternoon, like,
Same
and
here.
we're gonna talk about that. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, I was totally, I was enthralled. Every afternoon I would come home and it was DuckTales, it was Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, it was Tailspin, it was the Gummy Bears, like
yeah,
it was those kind of cartoons. And
mhm,
obviously the Garfields and the Heathcliffs
yeah,
and Dennis the Menace, right, back
mhm,
in the day.
yeah.
I didn't really get into like the comic book cartoons of like, the Super Friends and all that stuff until much later, even like Space Ghost and stuff like that.
Mhm,
I was like the Flintstones, Jetsons, like that
yep,
that was my stuff. That was like
mhm,
my ballpark area. Like I wasn't really
yeah.
into like, it wasn't until like you said 89, 90, maybe 91 that I picked up like, I think it was like a Thor comic book or something like that, and I started reading comic. Yeah, it was random.
Yeah.
It wasn't
No,
even
no, but
like
it's funny you say Thor because I mean the first books I ever bought myself was in 1989 the annual of I think it was Detective Comics or Batman. I can't remember right now. I know the cover. Batman's like in the snow and there's stuff. And
okay.
then it was a Teen Titans annual Secret Origin retelling of Nightwing's story. But what's funny is I remember being like maybe 6 or 7 years old on vacation and we stopped into like a deli and there was a comic book and it was Thor. So it was like I picked up Thor. My parents bought me a Thor comic,
That's
and what I ended up
funny.
doing was going home and drawing out of it, and I'd cut it out and glue it to like popsicle sticks and have my own little stories of the characters and stuff.
Dude,
Yeah,
so creative, like, and that's what it was. And I remember it was a buddy of mine named David Madranda. He went to school with me. If he's watching this at some point, big shout out to him. He got me into that whole stuff. And even
awesome.
before that, I used to read the Archie comics, like the
Yeah,
digests, the big
yeah.
digest. That's what and I was trying to create characters based off of that. I had a character called Curtis or something like that I
Mhm.
created off of like this kid that went to high school and had these jokes with his friends and stuff like that. Like I was creating off of that. And when I was like, I think growing up, my thing was I want to have my own like channel, like Disney, right? And have
Yeah.
my own cartoons play on my own channel. And so when I was like, I think in like third grade, there was an art teacher that out of the bottom of a milk box. He
Mhm.
would cut the bottom of the milk box, put two like four holes, one on the top, top and bottom, and then put like pencils through it. And then he would make like this. He would make us draw like this long strip of like just
Yeah.
art. And then when you taped it to each end, you could roll it, and you
Yeah.
would be. It's almost like you were watching. your
Yeah,
own kind of like cartoons, and it really got me, like I was like, oh shoot, this is kind of cool, like the
yeah,
whole, creating TV shows out of a
yeah,
little milk box. And that was like, that's kind of the kind of stuff that I miss, growing up as a
yeah,
kid, is like all of these things that you would do with your hands. Not so, I
yeah,
mean, now not
yeah.
everything is
No,
with
no,
the
no.
with the
Listen,
smartphones,
I
but
used to make the same thing.
yeah.
I actually was trying to do it for a Comic-Con one year. I
Oh,
was
really?
I didn't get I didn't get it done in time. I wanted to make a really nice wooden one that
Get out of here.
I could turn, and I was going to do it as a kids section that they could make their
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
strips and they can watch their strips go. But
Yeah, yeah. It was the coolest thing, dude. Like when
yeah,
I was like, holy cow, this is awesome. And so I had it was almost like a reel. I had like reels and reels of like my own, books that I would draw and stuff like that. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It was great. Hey, Joe, how's it going? So yeah, no, that was that was back in the day. That's how I started. That's what got me into this
yeah. That's
whole
awesome.
creating stories and stuff.
So hey,
Jonathan,
Jonathan, how you
Dawson
doing?
Russ.
So so yeah, no, that's fantastic. So you're saying the Disney Afternoon really inspired you. All these great
Oh yeah.
comics. I wanted to ask now. Obviously, the Disney Afternoon really inspired your Wonder Duck comic.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
big time.
but I know we're gonna probably sidetrack based on that conversation because just to let the audience know, and I told them before we went on air, I read. He sent me a PDF of like the first issue of each, so I could know the comics. I haven't had a chance to read them yet, or read them before this time, and I read both like twice, and today I reread them, and I don't know if it's because of my love of drawing cartoon animals, my love of the Disney Afternoon, but Wonder Duck was just to me like one of the best books I've ever read. Russ
Thanks,
is
Mike.
great too, but Wonder Duck, man,
Thank
just
you,
really
buddy.
got me. So I want to save that one for a little
Okay,
a little
okay,
more to the end. But
gotcha.
Russ did come out first, right?
Yes.
So
So
talk to me about Russ. How did he come up? I'm going to put up
sure.
the 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 book.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So basically, Russ was born in 1999 is when I created the idea for Russ.
okay.
And I've told this story in the past. I was working at an orphanage. It was a group home for kids, and but I was this was during while I was in college, and I was
Hmm.
data entry. I was doing data entry work. It wasn't like I
Okay.
was a social work or anything.
Worker. Yeah.
I was actually doing the data entry work in the at the group home, and I came across a name of a kid. His name was Nonami, and I thought it was Nonami, and I was like, oh, that's a kind of cool name. Whatever, I'm putting it.
Yeah.
The kid's name wasn't Nonami. It was No Name. They had no name for this kid. He had been
Oh.
found, and they didn't know who his parents were. And I was like, damn,
Yeah.
that's crazy. And it really stayed with me. And I was like, what if I created a story about this kid who lived in an orphanage, and all he wanted to do was get the heck out of there? And
Yeah.
so I was in class. I don't know what class it was, and I was doodling, like, because at the time I was still drawing. I was drawing my own characters, so I started doodling this image, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool, and it was Russ. And then I started thinking, well, he needs a story, he needs friends, and I just started creating this whole story and friends around that image that I drew. And then I thought about that kid, and I was like, okay, this is the kid that's in the group home, and this is the kid that wants to get out. And so Russ was born, and that was back in 1999 when I started. When I created him and I started writing the story, and I was the original artist on the book until about 2000. I say maybe 3 or 4. I had done
Okay.
like maybe 3 issues, and then I was like, I had hit a roadblock, and I was like, oh, okay. I don't know what else to go with this.
Yeah.
And so I put the pencil down. I started writing. And then this is the reiteration of this is the story that came out of that.
Yes. Which I got to say, first of all, I love the design. So these are based on the designs that you created,
Correct.
correct?
Yeah.
Can I say, although Russ, the bald guy here, which is
Mhm.
just a great piece. I love this guy's hair.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but the way you designed his hair, every
Yeah.
time he was in a panel, I just kept
I,
looking
I
at
don't
it.
even know why I did that. Like I really don't know what the hell. I think that at the time also I was also very influenced a lot by like I started getting into Dragon Ball Z at that time.
Hmm.
And so when I designed the characters, there's a lot of that influence in them as
I
well.
I can see that.
Yeah, and when I sent these images out to the artists, I basically told them, listen, I'm looking for a style that is basically Dragon Ball Z meets the Boondocks. I don't know if you're familiar with the
I know the
Boondocks. That
Boondocks. Yeah.
yeah. So I basically said, merge those two things and let's see what we get. And so
Mhm.
and this is essentially what they sent me. But yeah, I don't know where the heck I got that hair from, dude. Like I was
Yeah,
like,
I thought it was cool. It's a great design. And speaking of the artist, your artist is Time Lord here, Doctor Who. Is I think so. Is that the name he goes by or still goes by? Is
so all right. So this was back in the, I want to say it was in the maybe mid 2000s.
Mhm,
And so I met no, I didn't meet him actually, online on DeviantArt. I was looking
mhm,
for an artist, and actually Sam Vera, who's my co-host on Catch
mhm,
the Craze, he had actually worked with a couple of Filipino artists, and they had a
mhm.
studio called Big Cat Studios.
Okay.
And Big Cat Studios basically was based out of the Philippines. The guy who runs the studios, Brian Burrito, very nice guy. He actually hired a lot of these artists as freelancers in his
Mhm,
studio to work on projects. And Doctor Who happened to be one of the guys that he had at the studio. So I don't know if he's still with the studio or what he's
mhm.
doing now, but the name is cool as
I
hell,
thought
right?
I think
Doctor
it
Who.
cracked me up when I read that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't want to go through all the books. I want people to buy it. I want that, which they can get through your website, by the way,
They can, yes.
scrolling on the bottom. But I just want to give people an idea of the art and the colors and everything. I mean, I think it's you know you definitely see the anime influence
Yes, yes.
in here.
Yeah, yeah. Very simple style. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's simple.
yeah, I asked them, and you can tell, like, even with some of the stuff that's in the room, you can tell, like, and I said this in another show, like the influences the things that we are influenced by really
Yeah,
tells you where you're from in a sense, right? So like a lot
yeah,
of these things you wouldn't necessarily, some of these things you would obviously see here in the States, but some of those
yeah.
things are like, for the time when they were drawing this, like
Mhm,
the computer should have been a little more advanced. And this is
mhm,
like a futuristic story, it shouldn't look that way, but they went with like that looks like an iMac, from back in like the mid
mhm.
2000s and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So it's
Well, you got
interesting
a
that part of
transformer
it.
here too,
Oh
and a truck,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's
it's good.
interesting to see
Yeah,
that. But yeah, no, they did an excellent job. I was very happy with what they sent over to me, when I sent them the script, and then they sent it back
yeah.
to me.
And I really enjoy the layout. It's a very
Hmm.
simple out. They don't do anything crazy
Right.
where it makes it difficult to follow what you know, panel to panel.
There's a funny story about this book. There's a
Mm,
page in the, I think it's in the issue 3 in the third chapter of the book,
okay.
where I kind of deviated from the DC method of sending script, where you have the whole script and you tell them this is your, and I
Yeah.
kind of went into the Marvel method, and I kind of like just had like a big description of what I was thinking for on that page. And
Yeah.
what I ended up getting was a collage. It was just a big montage of all of the ideas that I had actually written on the page, and that's what they
Yeah.
put on the drawing. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, no, I needed panels." They made it look really cool, so I kept
Mhm.
it, but it
Yeah.
just there was, I think sometimes when you're drawing, and I don't know how you work with your writers, but sometimes I feel like you do need that like discussion prior to entering a
Well,
project and
I
saying,
will.
this is what I'm planning.
Yeah. Well, I will say this because usually when I work with my writers, and I only work with a couple of people. I have a
Hmm.
very small people that I don't want to say I trust, but like that write that know what I want when I'm right, as a writer.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're like this is so I usually plot out a story and say or I say these are the characters, this is their bio, these are their abilities, whatever. This is the bad guy of the story. I need an 8-page story, whatever you want to do. Uh, when I told my writer, who, even though we both know his name is using a pen name, so we won't mention him by name, for
Yeah.
my Dax Photon comic,
Yeah.
and this is the one thing I tell all my writers: you're the writer.
Hmm.
I trust you to write.
Hmm.
What I want this is the outline of the story that I've given you. Make sure this happens.
Right.
I don't care how you do it. If it needs a flashback, give a flashback. If you want to jump ahead and then go backwards, whatever works for the
Hmm.
story. I
Hmm.
mean, at the end of the day, I have final say. So
Sure.
they kind of give me a script, and I say, okay, I like what you're doing here, or I think you should change this. When Dax was written, every time I got work from him, I got excited He knew
That's so interesting.
in my head. I saw everything he was right. Like it worked. Panel, it worked in my head
Right.
for animation. Everything. I'm like,
Wow.
oh, I could totally see this happening. I only had a few notes on it, and my biggest note was at the end of it. And what happened at the end is he had a great ending,
Hmm.
but Dax wasn't the hero of it.
Oh,
He was there,
right,
and
right.
stuff happened, but
Hmm.
he wasn't the hero. So I'm like, no, the name of the book is Dax Photon. He
We
has
have
to
to
be the
change
hero.
that.
So
Yeah, yeah.
we took a little discussion, maybe literally maybe 10, 15 minutes of talking, and we had it settled.
Right,
Even
right.
less than that, maybe. And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
he rewrote it, and it was awesome. There was even a part I plotted out for him,
Hmm.
and when he wrote the scene, and I read it, I actually teared up.
Oh,
Like
wow.
he hit that point,
That's
and
so
I was like,
great.
"Oh my god, I knew this was coming." But the way he wrote it, the words, the dialogue he gave those characters,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just hope I can do justice illustrating it.
You,
Like
you,
that's how I feel.
it's so funny because you get the exact same feeling I get when I see a page drawn.
Hmm.
You know, like that feeling that you got of like, oh my God, this is amazing. That's the same exact
Yeah,
emotion that I get when I see a page that I wrote and now I see it almost come to life in a sense on the
yeah,
page. You're like, wow,
yeah,
that looks great. And
yeah,
that's what keeps you doing this. You
yeah.
know, that's
Exactly.
exactly what keeps you motivated to keep writing. And whenever you get that page, you're like, wow,
Yeah.
this looks
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm excited when I draw it. I get excited, and
I
there are
can't wait,
times
man. I can't wait to
I
see it.
actually get a little scared sometimes because like I have torn up pages like because I showed you how I work kind of
Yeah.
these really
Hmm.
thumbnail roughs kind of garbage looking pieces of art that I because I go over it in ink. I mean I just
Yeah.
basically draw in ink, but I've torn up pages because I'm like no, this isn't good. This isn't good. This doesn't match
Yeah. Yeah.
to what he wrote. So I have to there's like 4 pages. I have something like I can't remember the exact amount, like say 12, 13 pages done. I
Mhm.
redid 4 of them because I did not feel they were good enough for
Wow.
how the guy wrote them. So I
Yeah.
remember doing that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I told you off air. I can't wait to see, what you come up with.
I
So
can't wait to show it to
that's
everybody.
gonna be, yeah, that's gonna be great. That's gonna be great.
So next week, like I said, just so those who are watching and interested, next week will be my deciding factor of um, when I launch it. It's either going to be mid September or end of September.
Yeah.
But next week,
Cool.
this is the deciding factor.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Um, so tell us a little bit about Russ and like the story, and give us
Sure.
the idea of it.
Yeah. So basically, the story of Russ is the story about this young kid. His name is Russ Malkin, who is an orphan as far as he knows. And he's in this orphanage slash lab experiment or just an experiment lab
Yeah.
where these kids are brought in and at the age of 5 their memories are wiped.
Mhm.
Okay, they're supposed to be anyway. There's a chip put inside of their brains to make them forget everything. But Russ now is about 17 years old and he's starting to have these nightmares that he thinks they're just nightmares. They are actually memories of his
Mhm.
past, and he's got to figure out what the heck is going on. Kids are coming up missing in the orphanage, and his friends, which are the two guys that you see there on the cover, Kino and Backy, have his back, and they're like, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we got to get the heck out of here, and that's kind of like where the story takes off.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a 6 issue run, graphic novel, which 6 chapter, I should say, graphic novel.
Yeah.
It's all completed. Currently, you can get it on my website as a graphic novel. So if you go to getyourmeds.com, you can get it. Or I just put it up on Webtoons. So if you go to webtoons.com and you type in Russ5377, the first episode is up there for you to read for free. So right
And
now,
that's the only one you're giving away for free.
that one will be up there. It is going to be, the plan is to put it up there quarterly.
Mhm.
I'll see how I feel in November about it,
Okay.
depending. So it's a test run right now. So it's up there right
Yeah.
now for the next till November. It'll be up there, the first issue, depending on how it goes. The fan
Yeah.
base, if there are any subscribers, and then I'll put up the other issues out there.
Yeah.
We were talking about this off air, but a lot of
Yeah.
people like digital, but they also still prefer the handheld
Yes.
comic.
Yes.
So if you want to read it this way, you can. If you want the actual physical copy, you can always order it on my website.
Yeah.
So you have both
And I will say
options.
this is, as someone like me who's an artist, I like to actually hold the books because I
Yeah.
can pull it close up to my face and really look at it and see the art and study the panels and stuff. So for me,
Yeah.
this is something I'd love to have,
Yeah.
in my hands. But
Yeah.
I have no issue reading. I read webtoons all the time.
Right.
Um, I'm a fan of quite a bunch of the stories on there. I read
Mhm.
comic strips, like we were talking about earlier. I read
Yes.
those online too on comics.com and other
Yeah.
sites like that. So I'm one
You
of those
know,
people. I'm not anti-digital comics. I've
yeah,
been reading them since the '90s, since
I
web
that's
comics
true.
started.
That's true. I actually have a so I have an iPad at home, and these things are the iPads are perfect for stuff like
Yeah,
this because
yeah,
they're the size of the screen when you turn it, when you turn it vertically, and
yeah,
you can just literally swipe up, and you're not really missing anything when it comes to reading these digital. Especially like I put mine on Webtoons. I put it up as the pages that you see there as you're scrolling up.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
exactly the way it is on Webtoons. I didn't splice them or cut them up or anything like
yeah.
that.
Because a
I
lot of
put the
webtoons
whole page.
has that
Yeah.
scrolling feature, and when I put DAX up, I'm going to do it the same way. I like the old school comics.
Yes.
Comics have changed, and for those of you who don't really know or follow web comics, well, Annibal just is here. Let's say hi to him.
What's up, Anibal?
So,
What's up?
yeah, but web comics, when it first came out, they were doing them comic strip format,
Yeah.
and then eventually it changed to comic book for people who want to do more books,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd say around, oh, I don't know, the strip format started dying probably around 2010, 2011. Things
What do
were
you think did
changing.
it? What was it? Was it like the other,
Honestly, I
just
don't.
the
I,
competition of like all the other things that were coming out, like Comixology and all that other stuff that was coming
you
out at
know
the
what?
time?
I can't really say. It was
Yeah.
formats changed for digital. I
Yeah.
think it was screen resolutions and
Mm,
things like that people needed to change for.
yeah.
Um, but I've always liked the comic page or the strip format. So, like when I did the Wiz, which I want to redo,
Mm-hmm.
I posted him on Instagram and Facebook. But on Instagram, it was a 3 or 4 panel strip, so I was always able to cut. And as you swiped on Instagram, it read like you were reading a comic strip.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
that was my
There are
my
so many
format.
ways. There are so many ways to do. We have a friend of mine, Christian Aluas, who
Yep,
I'm sure you
I
know
know,
him.
Chris. Yep,
He has a book called Big Boss,
yes,
The Big Boss comic, and he actually had an Instagram account where he would post a panel per, I don't know, was it weekly or something like that. Every week he'd post a panel of the story, and you
yeah,
could follow the story along in these panels, and
yeah,
eventually he put all those panels into a graphic novel and sold it as a graphic novel. But
yeah,
the Instagram worked as his, almost like his page for
yeah,
to put up the different panels. So I mean, there's so many different ways, and you can get really creative with a lot of this stuff. But I kind of just went the traditional on webtoons. It was also easier for me just to put the entire page up and then just have you read the entire chapter versus
I
splicing it up.
See, for me, I think that works best too because you're on
Yeah.
Webtoon, and I told you I don't know if you ever looked up the strip. I told you that was my favorite that they don't do anymore.
Mm.
It was called Bark and Bone.
Oh yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. I
did
did
you
see
look
it.
that up?
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
That
I
was
mean,
cool.
first of all, I love D&D, and it was about a
Hmm.
skeleton. Like basically a skeleton kind of warrior that you would fight in D&D. Kind of gets up after a battle,
Hmm.
and this dog befriends him.
Yes. Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
just go off
Yeah.
on things, and he's like, "Get away from me, get away!" But at the end of the day, he's brought into becoming a hero instead of the bad guy that he's supposed to. It's a
Yeah.
fun. That was a fun story.
It really,
Um,
I was, because I was looking to see what happened to it, and it looked kind of, it was cool, man. I was like,
yeah,
damn, what the heck happened to this thing? But yeah, no, that was cool. I
yeah,
mean, again, there's so many different, different
yeah,
just things that you can do online now, with the
exactly,
digital.
exactly. And I think just what you're doing with putting Russ up for, here's the first thing free. I think that's brilliant. Number one, because anyone can come and read it. So you guys really go to Webtoons and look up Russ 5377, and it's a good story. Um, but it gives people who can't get out to comic cons, or if you can't get your book into a comic shop to find it, it gives people that taste
Yeah.
and it says, I want more. Because when I finished reading both of your books, again, I did it the first time I read it, and the second time I'm like, I want more.
Oh,
I just
thanks,
want
man.
more. So it's I mean, that first of all, that says a lot about your storytelling skills and the artists that you work with who
Yeah.
can
No,
bring your
thank you.
stories to life, man. It's
I
so good.
appreciate that.
Dialogue is awesome. It doesn't feel forced or fake, or
Yeah,
it just has a
that's
nice,
tough.
yeah,
That is so tough, man. Even when you're doing the writing, and that's why when you were mentioning, the writer that you're working with, to make
yeah,
you feel an emotion, like writing is tough when it comes to that kind of stuff because it can come off, like you said, it forced or
yeah,
oh boy, or maybe too campy or something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah,
yeah,
no, that is tough. I recently, and one of the guys, and I don't know if Jerry's still watching, but Jerry has a book, and I don't know if you know him, Jerry Winsborough, Mike.
yep.
He's got a
I had
book
him
called
on.
Seek. Yeah. Oh, you had him on. Yeah,
Yeah,
Seek.
I have Seek somewhere
Dude,
here
did
to
you
read it
read
from.
it? That thing is,
Not yet, not yet. I
dude,
have
I'm
to.
not even gonna spoil anything. It's awesome. It's really good. It's
It
really,
looks
really good.
great. I mean,
Yeah,
listen, I got
yeah.
between all the Kickstarters, the free comic book
Dude,
day.
it's crazy how much stuff. I have like a
I mean,
whole box of like Kickstarter stuff that I have down here.
yeah,
But
I got I don't even know what I got around here, man. I got so many books.
yes,
I bought books at Eternal Con, was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
yeah.
Um I bought, then there's the regular books I buy. So
Right, right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's so much. But but I guess what my point in saying that too is it's it's tough when it comes to independence because we
Yeah.
have that stigma, right? We don't finish. I was
Yeah.
talking to Anibal who was online now. We were talking about how we have so many number ones, but there
Yeah.
aren't any number twos. And it's like that's what I wanted to avoid, even when I was creating, for example, all of my books. Like I Russ is a 6 issue run. It's done. Like you don't have to worry about, oh, I like your first issue, George, but where's the next one? Like I think I put a preview of the second book in the PDF that I sent you.
Yeah, there
But
was like
like
3 pages. Yeah, it was
yeah, but all
yeah.
of that stuff is done. So if you want to read it, if you want to get the whole story, you can, because I think that's important. It's important for us as independents to continue to just finish our stories and have a complete story, even if it's not a like a full, you got everything. You can make it an ongoing series, but at least give me a nice arc. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that comment that Aniba made is true. I'm telling you, you're gonna enjoy it, Mike. You're gonna
Yeah,
enjoy reading it.
I'll have to pick it out. Maybe it'll be my book I read tomorrow. I'm trying to read
Yeah,
right now since I have a much more flexible schedule than I normally have. I'm trying to read at least one book a day.
yeah, yeah.
So I'll pull it out. Maybe even before bed tonight, I'll read it.
Yeah, I need to
I
do
don't.
that too, man. I need to start
Yeah.
just reading some of these books that I have because I feel and they're good. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been pleasantly surprised by a lot of these things, man.
Yeah.
I think like the levels
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
of writing skill are definitely getting up there. The people I think are taking it a little more serious.
Well, that's the thing. I think for most independent creators,
Hmm.
I think we have changed our thought process from a lot of us. I started doing comics in 97. That's the first
Mm,
time I self-published a book. That was my Plunger Pup,
awesome.
and stuff. I mean, I don't know if I ever showed it to you, but
Yeah, I never saw the book, but I saw the characters. You have you when we were doing that sketch off last couple of
oh
weeks
yeah,
ago.
yeah, this is from 1997. This is the first book
Oh
right there.
shoot!
Okay.
Now, how did you print that? Did you print that? You went to like I guess Kenko's wasn't around '97. I don't know what the heck
Yeah,
was
no, I
around.
don't remember what company I used, but I had to buy 1,000 books, and I'm down to like
Oh,
five. And most of
really?
them weren't sold. No, no, most of them weren't sold. Most were either
Oh,
thrown out or used in the
oh.
fireplace as kindling. Because you gotta you
Damn.
gotta stay warm, and But now with print on demand,
Oh yeah,
everybody doing the Kickstarter, you can kind of figure out your
yeah.
stuff. I mean, look, I got to show this off. I even used myself in the book back when I had hair and
Wow, look
everything,
at
man.
you.
I was the plunger god, and
The plunger god.
yeah, I did a three. Okay, look, I know this is going to be one of our sidetracks. I did a 3 issue mini series
Well,
here, right?
well, let me see the screen again because you're like tiny and I can
Okay,
barely see
okay.
what
Let
you're
me
showing.
go. Let me go back. Okay, so let me remove this. Okay, so this was the first cover, right?
Okay, and that
And it
was
was
'97.
97. So this was between 97. The 4 books I'm going to show you between 97 and 99.
Okay,
So there I am as the plunger god.
the
Okay.
plunger god.
Yeah. All right. So that was my intro. So then we go to book 2, and I got smarter and did everything in black and white. Um, and now here I am fixing a leaky pipe.
Wow,
Okay.
look at that, look at that balloon, look at that word balloon.
Oh well,
Jesus
this was a recap. Yes, this
Oh,
was a
okay, okay.
recap,
I'm
man.
like, what?
And then what am I? Oh, and then the last one, I'm in the bed. I'm in the toilet. So the idea was that I start off every book. This actually is my dummy book that I made, my little ash can
Okay.
before I started anything. So this probably was either 96 or 97. I don't know if I have a date on
Damn.
that. But then I was forming a team, and this is what I really want to get into eventually, the Ridiculous Heroes.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I got Plunger Pup in the center, and off to the side here, where is it? That's Hero Man. Up, oh god, that's hard. Next to above him is Mop Man and Water Bucket Boy.
Yep.
Then we got Mighty Monkey above him, and then
Mighty monkey.
Stupid Man. But I don't know. These days, can you use the word stupid?
Yes, yes.
And
That's the
it's
thing, right? Yeah, I
yeah.
know.
But
I
he was
know.
my Incredible Hulk. He was this genius guy, and the second he put a dunce cap on, he became an idiot. But he was smart. I mean, but he was powerful. Let's see. He goes, it's we got a message from Joe
It's my
Ryan.
dream
It's
to it.
my dream to write a story that will finish in 15 issues,
There you
guaranteed.
go.
That's great. I'm
That's
I'm I'm one of those people now where I'm kind of at the point. I'm not sure I'm going to be doing multiple issue books. Just
yeah,
throw out
I
trades,
agree.
man. Throw out
I
trades.
agree, dude. I
Um,
agree.
like with Dax, I told you I have a 60-page story,
Yeah.
and then there's about another 40 pages that won't be online,
Right.
that you'll
Right.
only be able to get in the book.
Yeah.
So, but once that's done, Dax is over. I have
Right.
no interest, at least right
Mhm.
now, no interest in doing any more Dax stories.
Yeah. And if another story pops into your head about Dax, you'll put it out there. It'll be
Exactly.
another trade. Yeah, no, that's exactly what I did with Russ. Like Russ, I
Yeah.
finished back in 2014. The
Yeah.
the story's done. The 6 issues are done. It ends with it could go on into something else, or it could just,
Yep.
or you're done with that there.
Yeah.
And now just recently I started developing like another story for that world that I want to continue from here. But that's again, like you said, you have your story, and then later on you can go ahead and do what you got to do.
Yep. Jonathan says Jerry's no joke. So is J.M. DeSantis, especially with his prose work.
Oh yeah,
Really polished and gifted, right? Yeah,
yeah,
J.M. is awesome.
yeah.
I got some of
James,
his stuff
awesome.
from Free Comic Book Day, still in my bag here.
Yep.
This is my Free Comic Book Day bag, guys. Not only is there free comics in there, but there are purchase stuff.
That was a thick bag when I got there and I saw you. I was like,
Yeah.
geez, what's in that
Well,
thing? You have like tons of
here's some
comics in
of
there.
JM's work, Chadiana. I bought issue
Yes.
1.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
got
funny.
that one.
I was telling him, we're always at shows together, and this is why I've never read your stuff until you sent me the PDF, is we're always at our tables trying to sell.
We're always,
We may pass by, say, hey, I like that. That's nice work or whatever, but we never sit down and just say, here. So
Yeah, it's so
Gentleman
true, dude.
Cthulhu, another one of his.
Yeah, his artwork is
Yeah.
incredible. He posted something up today of a commission that he did, and I was like,
Yeah, I
holy
loved it.
cow.
I loved it.
Yeah.
This
No,
I'm
great
eager to
stuff.
read, though. This is his first 10 years, about him.
Oh,
His
yes.
first 10 years of his career.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm really
That's-
excited to look at that.
Yeah.
I don't know what year I'll get to that in, but
I'll tell you, man. In the last couple of years, even with the pandemic, I feel like I've I met you during the pandemic, and like I feel like we have a nice little like group
Yeah.
of guys that once everything opens up, we should all just get together and just talk and shop like this. It's just
totally.
it's so much fun, man. So much
Totally.
fun.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah. Actually, on Saturday, after I left shortly after you did
Yeah.
from the comic shop, the Spider's Web, by the way, I'll give them a
Yes,
shout out. Fantastic
yes.
store. I went home. I got home maybe say around 2:00 or so. Our friend Ray Felix messaged me. He goes, "When you go into the Spider's Web, I wanted to see it." And I said, "I just got back, man. Like I said, when you're leaving, let me know. Maybe we'll go out to dinner.
Yeah.
And we'll grab a bite." So, that's what I ended up doing. I went with him, and then
Oh,
JM
nice.
met us up later. So it was a long day. Usually when I get home from going somewhere, I'm like,
You're
I'm done. I'm
done.
in for the
You're
night, and
done. Yeah.
don't let me
Yeah.
go anywhere.
Yeah. No, that's awesome,
Yeah.
man. That's
So,
awesome. Ray Felix, another one. But see, that's a guy that has a lot of product out there. Like
Yeah.
he's got tons and tons of stuff, and I commend him for that because he just puts it out, man. He's like, I'm out, I'm
Oh
putting
yeah,
it out there.
he's a monster.
Yeah, he really is a
He's a
monster with that
monster.
stuff.
He's
So
with
yeah,
that
good
stuff.
for him. Yeah,
Yeah,
good for
I
him.
hope to one day get to a stage where I can be at that level where I'm just knocking stuff off
Just
every
yeah,
day.
right. No, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. It's gonna start with Dax though. I
I
have a
hope
feeling.
so. I hope so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But let's stop talking about this stuff. Sidetrack. I want to get. I want to get to the Adventures of Wonder Duck. I want to say hi
Yes.
to Mike Wilkie in the audience. Thanks for tuning in.
What's up, Mike?
And okay, so I put up Wonder Duck. Okay, now this one was very inspired. You said by the Disney Afternoon, the comics that
Big time. Yeah.
you grew up in. So I'll just share this story real quick. I probably shared it, but Plunger Pup, who I just showed, I'm not going to go back in and get him out. He was inspired by the Disney Afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was homesick and I was watching tapes that I recorded because I used to teach myself how to draw cartoon characters by watching them and pausing the screen and drawing what I saw from Darkwing Duck. And there was a character on there, Megavolt, who had the plug on his head. And I thought he was a dog. I didn't realize he was a rat.
He was a rat?
Yeah. So,
Oh shoot.
and so I was homesick, and I'm like, if you take those plugs out and put a stick in, it'll look like a plunger on his head. So I drew this dog with a plunger on his head, thinking he was a dog. And originally, he looked a lot more like Megavolt, the costume where he had these bands down,
yes,
the circle instead of the outlet. There was the plunger symbol, and he had this more Megavolt-y type of thing. And then I designed him to what he is now. But and that's when I'm like, no, I'm going to make him a little more Green Lantern-ish and stuff.
right,
But
right,
that
right.
was a Disney Afternoon-inspired character who
Yes,
basically
yes.
became a big part of my life for decades.
Right, right.
For decades.
Yeah.
And the Disney Afternoon still hasn't left me in the way I draw and design and think about stories. Let me ask you before we get into Wonder Duck, what was your favorite Disney Afternoon show?
It was DuckTales. It was definitely DuckTales. DuckTales was mine, and then so the spin-off show was Darkwing Duck, right? Because Launchpad and Quack ended up in that show.
Yeah.
And so that became my second favorite, but my favorite one was definitely the DuckTales show. They just had so many characters, man. They had like just obviously Launchpad and Mrs. Bean, like everything. It was just I really enjoyed what they did with the show, but that was my favorite. What was yours?
Oh, DuckTales, because I read the Scrooge comics as a kid.
Oh, okay.
Those were some comics I did have, but when I say I collected in 19, that's when I started spending my own money and buying books.
Yeah.
But I read Uncle Scrooge. Gummy Bears was a big one because I just loved fantasy.
Yeah.
And I'd probably say Darkwing. Like those were the three I would.
Yeah.
I'd always have to watch. I could skip.
True.
I was going to be. People may hate me, but I could skip Gargoyles if I wanted to.
All right.
That was a good show, but I could skip it.
Yes.
Goof Troop was fun, but the days I don't need Goofy. He's not my favorite character.
Yeah. And they had Tailspin, but Tailspin was on there.
I love Tailspin, but
Tailspin was good.
When Tailspin first came out, I didn't like it. I appreciated it a little later as the series went on. I don't want to call me dumb or anything, but I always found but seriously, all my friends who were like in advanced placement classes all liked Tailspin. They were like, that's the best cartoon ever. And I'm like, why is it and so I used to watch it questioning
You say why
is that I'm like, why? I mean, listen, you got the Gummy Bears that number one has like the best theme song ever written.
Dude, the theme songs were just all around. Like they always just had the freaking theme songs. I was like, even Chip and Dale's, like Chip and Dale's, like it was just could just repeat the songs over and over again.
I still do.
Yeah,
I seriously.
Well, Disney Plus, I find myself sometimes just watching some of the. But have you seen some of the warnings at the beginning of some of these shows?
Yeah, totally. I watch them all the time.
Yeah.
That was one of the. It wasn't the first thing I watched, but within the first day of getting Disney Plus, I think I went back to Darkwing Duck and revisited. Or as soon as that went on, I don't remember exactly when, but
yeah.
But yeah, no, that was the thing. I mean, and DuckTales, to me, it's just adventure.
It's adventure.
Like
it was adventure.
Everything I wrote was like in my head a rip off of DuckTales. I loved the video. I loved Indiana Jones as a kid. I loved the video game Pitfall as a kid. Especially when it was on Sega Genesis. I love that version. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this and I'm like, That's all these three things really are.
That
So as a
yeah.
kid, Indy, Scrooge, and Pitfall Harry were like the characters
Of your youth.
yeah, of my youth that I really wanted to start telling
Emulate.
stories of. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until the idea of Plunger Pup that I started making fun of superheroes
Right.
and
Right.
started doing like superhero parody and stuff.
Well, that was the whole thing. And I can't remember when exactly this character was introduced into
Yeah.
the DuckTales world, but Gizmo Duck.
Yeah.
So Gizmo Duck was my inspiration for Wonder Duck.
Okay.
Like I saw Gizmo Duck and I was like, wow, that because like a lot of what they did on the show was parody, right? It was just a lot of parody. Like they would take
Yeah.
these adventures and they, you know what I mean? It was like a lot of it, and it was just fun. And so I was like, yo, dude, I love this character. And if you look, I have designs of when I created Wonder Duck back in like 91, 92, whenever the heck it was,
Yeah.
and all I did really was just take off the wheel. I literally took off the wheel, and that was Wonder Duck. Like, he had a helmet, he had the visor, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? He had like it was just that without a wheel. And then I changed the design as I went along, and like you did with Plunger Pup,
Yeah.
I came to what you see on the screen now.
Yeah.
And yeah, but that it was Gizmo Duck. Gizmo Duck was the whole thing behind Wonder Duck, and I was highly influenced by that stuff.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I can see it because when you're saying that, it makes a little bit more sense. When I read this,
Mm-hmm.
um, now before I even say what I was going to say, you want to give the gist of the story so I don't spoil it. I don't want to
Sure.
spoil anything.
Yeah, yeah,
If
sure.
you don't.
So
So go ahead.
basically, there's a war in an alien planet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And during this war, a super suit is discharged into space and it lands on another planet called Planet Farof,
Mm-hmm.
striking our hero like in the head, literally, and transforming him into Wonder Duck. And that's essentially the premise of the story. It's just there's these two planets at war, and the doctor on planet, which Planet Fear is the name of the planet. He
Mm-hmm.
has basically, and this is when you open up, as you scroll up, this
Yeah.
is him. So this is Dr. Muse. He's the creator of the suit that Wonder Duck wears, and he has to get rid of it because he's been caught doing something he shouldn't be doing. And he gets in, he's caught, and he sends this suit out into space and transforms Duke Dolbeak into Wonder Duck. And it's just an action adventure story about this duck going through space saving lives. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially what it is.
Yeah. And I got to say though, I like the design. First of all, as I'm reading this, I'm thinking very Marvel comics, like Kree
Mm.
versus Skrull, almost
Mm.
a little bit as I'm reading, but not so much because I got to say the symbol does remind me of Captain Marvel a bit.
You know
Um,
what's crazy? I when I did it, I was like, I didn't even think of that. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And I just threw it on his chest, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
that might be
Well,
a
it's okay. I have a character who wears the same symbol too. Don't
Oh,
worry
really?
about it. Yeah,
I guess it's a common symbol.
yeah. It's how many ways can you draw a star or something? I mean, you want it to be a little more, you know, sci-fi-ish or something. You don't
Right,
just want
right.
that
Yeah, it
little,
looks like a sparkle almost.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not going to go through the whole thing again.
Yeah, yeah, no,
I'm
I
just
got you.
showing a bit, but I love the illustrations. I love this, but I also thought of what as I was reading what was going on. I started thinking Kree versus
Mhm.
Scroll, and then I'm thinking, listening to you just them talk about soon. I'm like, greatest American hero,
Oh my God,
and
I
I'm
remember
like,
that.
oh my god, so this guy's going to get a suit and not know how to use it or something.
Right, 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 right,
I'm
right.
not going to spoil if he does or not, but you guys gotta buy it to read it to find out. But like as I'm going through this book here and I'm reading, I'm like, wow, this is setting up for something really really cool. So
Yeah.
this is definitely on my to buy list.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no,
Um,
totally.
yeah,
And this is another one of those things where, like I was telling you, even with Russ,
yeah,
this is I sent you the first chapter, but this is a
yeah.
four chapter book. It's a full graphic novel. Actually, I have it here. I don't know if you can see it. It's
Let
it's
me give you the screen. Hold on.
yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So it's this guy right here. It's a full graphic novel. And we were just talking about J.M. DeSantis. Darkfire Press is the company that is publishing the book right now, and he actually owns the company. So Darkfire Press publishes Wonder Duck, and so we're at Barnes and Nobles. If you go to barnesandnobles.com, if you
Mm.
go to Amazon, Comixology, it's on there. But yeah, so it's a full 88-page graphic novel, and that ends the first part of the story, which is the Ferrarian takeover, which is I send you the first chapter of it.
Chapter of, yeah.
And so yeah, so that book is completely done, but that does leave a cliffhanger for what's to come. And I've already started the process of not creating, because I wrote the whole entire thing. It's just a matter of the artists are now drawing the next 4 chapters of what
Okay.
happens next in the book.
So it's going to be basically 2 graphic novels, is what you're saying,
Yes,
right?
it's a 2-parter. Yeah, yeah.
And then when you're done with it, Wonder Duck is done, you think, or
Wonder Duck is done with that arc,
arc?
and
Okay.
it can keep going.
Mhm.
Like we were talking about it.
Yeah,
If we
exactly.
have another story in mind for it, it can totally keep going. But if you wanted to just get, oh, is this the complete story? Yes, this is the entire story told in one, well, in 2 books in this case. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And what I'm actually planning is next year, in the spring of next year, which is what I actually wanted to come on here too to discuss that.
Mm.
I am going to be doing a Kickstarter for chapter 5
Oh, okay.
of the book. So the story will continue, and I've already, I've already done a lot of there's a lot of the artwork is already done, so I'm lettering it right now. But yeah, chapter 5 is coming. I'm gonna put it out on Kickstarter, and actually, JM is going to do one of the covers for the book.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
he's going to be doing one of the covers. A buddy of mine named Joe Holly, he will be doing a cover, and I will be picking up the pencil one more time.
Really?
I haven't drawn in a very long time, and so I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to put a cover. I'm going to have a cover on there as well. So yeah,
Awesome.
it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be a good time, man. So we're
That is
hoping to get that
awesome.
out. Yeah, yeah. I actually, the Wonder Duck has his own Instagram page now. It's if you go into Instagram and just type in the Adventures of Wonder Duck, you'll see it. And I'm posting new content. I'm trying to stay current with that stuff, because that's another thing about the social networks.
Yeah,
And when you have a lot of these pages, you have to stay consistent,
I
and
know.
that's tough to do sometimes.
I know.
So I kind of I went crazy on this one, and I've kind of, almost like I did, like I would do a story. I plotted out the content that's coming out every week. So
Yeah,
on
you have
Wednesdays,
to.
I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm just, yeah. So every Wednesday, I'm trying to put something up. Especially in the month of August, you'll see new posts every Wednesday.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
some up there now, but yeah, and yeah, and the Kickstarter is coming in the spring. So the website will have the launch page once I have the launch page up, just so you can follow it, so that when
Yeah.
it goes live, you guys can check it out. But yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, it's gonna be good, man. It's gonna be good. I'm excited.
Awesome.
I
Um,
can't wait. I can't
have you
wait.
thought about bringing this to uh Webtoon as well, or?
So again, because I do have a publisher, and
Yes.
you know what I mean, I have to make sure that, because we're on Comixology now, so I have to talk to JM about how, if we would bring it, because I think that there's a thing. I think we were talking about that, where like if you publish it one way, Webtoons doesn't allow you to put it anywhere. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly 100%
Yeah.
sure how
I
that
gotta
works
I
yet.
gotta research that, but I
Yeah.
believe the rule is if you publish on Webtoon only, Webtoon can like say pick it up for syndication, if you will. I'm air quoting here.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But if you're posting on, Webtoon and displaying on Instagram and has its own web page and it's going other places, then it can't be syndicated.
Right.
I think that's the way it works. But
Yeah, yeah.
if you just post on there and it's a free
Right.
thing and the book is out, I believe that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't believe they can touch your stuff, but it's better definitely to do the research.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So right, I mean, right now, it's a Comixology. So if you go to Comixology and type in The Adventures of Wonder Duck, is on there.
yeah,
Like I said, Amazon, you can get the book. Barnes and Nobles, you can get the book. Go to darkfirepress.com, and
hmm
it'll show you all of the links as to where you can actually get the book. And JM has been great about doing that, because he did all of that all of that legwork.
Yeah, he's got a
So
very
yeah, yeah.
he's got a good brain for the business.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
I've talked to him. He's about advice. I've just gone to him for advice on
Hmm.
things I'm planning in the future.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
just like, hey, listen, let me just ask you this question. And we've had, like Zoom, I don't well, we've used the StreamYard service, and
Sure.
I mean, and we just had private
Hmm.
conversations where we've talked through like Facebook Messenger. It's a
Right.
really,
Yeah.
really smart guy.
Yeah.
Really
Oh
smart
yeah.
guy.
Oh yeah. He knows what he's doing,
Yeah, yeah,
and he's very, I think you have to be very he's very meticulous in
yes,
a good way, not in a
yeah,
bad way, in a very good way, where he's like
yeah.
he's very on point with, if you look at some of his writing, like you'll see some of like the writing that he has online.
Mhm.
The handwriting is like legible. Like if you look at
Yeah,
my, like when I'm writing notes down, it's like chicken scratch. I'm like, you nobody knows what it says, only me.
yeah, yeah,
It's like that
exactly.
kind of thing. But he's very good with that stuff. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
he's definitely taking care of putting that out there. He's publishing Anibal, who I don't know if he's still on, but Anibal
Yeah.
Arroyo's children's book, Little
Book.
Steve's
Yeah.
Closet, is also on Darkfire Press.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah, so big shout out to him, and
Yeah,
he's
and
doing a
that's
lot
a
of
good
good
book.
work.
I got to look through it once. And
Yeah,
it's a nice book.
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, no, so big things. I'm hoping to have more info on when the actual date for the Kickstarter. But we were talking off air. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work. It's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. A lot of work that goes
Yeah.
into these campaigns.
But
So
through your with Sam doing Catch the
mhm.
Crazies and stuff, you
Yeah.
guys have had what, three already?
Yeah, so three Catch the Crazies,
Hmm.
one Forbidden, and actually Forbidden's on Indiegogo right now. So if
Yeah.
you guys anybody's interested in fantasy books, his book Forbidden is on Indiegogo right now. So go to Indiegogo.com and check out Forbidden. But yeah, we've done a few, and I'm telling you, every single one. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Funny here at a time where we need it. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we've done so it's 30 days of hell, man. Like it's
Yeah.
just 30 days of like, okay, will I reach that goal? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And sometimes the goal is not enough. And part of that is, and the reason for I say that, Mike, just so you know, is that sometimes because they don't take Soldier of Fortune coming soon. Look at these guys. I like it.
Is that his own
Diecast. Yeah,
diecast? Okay.
diecast. Yeah, we've been waiting for that. It's like, come on. But I'm glad he's actually put it out there. All right. So
Cool,
that's
cool. We're
good.
gonna have to have you on.
Yeah,
You're
we're
gonna
gonna
come
have
on
to
and
have,
talk about
yeah,
this.
you're definitely gonna have to have him on. But no, so with these campaigns, once you reach your goal, it's great, right? But
Yeah.
what happens is at the end of the campaign, the way Kickstarter does it is they don't collect the money right away. They don't charge your credit card until the campaign is funded.
Yeah.
And sometimes the money isn't there in some people's accounts. And so you may not get all of that money. You may have made your goal, but at the behind the scenes, you may not get all of that. So when people are asking for additional money or stretch goals and stuff like that, that's just to cover in case, not everybody's money goes through, then you
Yeah.
still have money to be able to put, what you need to do as far as printing and all that other stuff. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that aspect
yeah.
of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they take a percentage,
Oh, of
obviously.
course they do.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
you're not, you're asking for $1,000 and you're
Mhm.
probably gonna end up with like 980, maybe
Yeah.
700, it depends.
Yeah.
So that's why getting above that goal is so important. And that's why those stretch goals are so important, is because you're not gonna get the full 1,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, so but again, I think in today's market, I think crowdfunding campaigns are I think they took the place of conventions for a while. People weren't
Mhm.
able to go to conventions and buy books, so they were just pledging to Kickstarters, and that's why
Yeah.
that's why I have like 60 books at this point, because I was
Oh,
just like, oh,
I know. I was looking, and I think since the pandemic started, I've donated to at least like 20, maybe a little more
right?
Kickstarters, and I'm
I'm
like,
telling you, man.
eh,
I'm telling you, every 30 days, you're like, oh, there goes another
I
charge.
got I got another book, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. So, but yeah, so that's gonna happen next year, and then right now, obviously, I have the not the Kickstarter, the Instagram account for Wonder Duck, and I have Russ on Webtoons, and
okay.
there's the website getyourmeds.com where I have all of my books and T-shirts and all that other stuff. So
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, listen, you're You're doing. I see you posting so much between Instagram and Facebook stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you also on like Twitter and things? Do you post
I,
there? Or?
I was thinking about that today. I was like, I probably should get on Twitter more because I have a Twitter account. I just
Mhm,
never use it.
mhm.
Like that's almost like my stalking account for like celebrities and
Yeah,
stuff like that, which is stupid. I should just use it for like my own stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I definitely should do that.
yeah.
I got to get more on
You got
that.
to start on TikTok too, man. Like every
TikTok. Oh my God,
Sam's
TikTok.
on there. I see Sam's
Sa
stuff.
Sam's everywhere.
Sebastian.
Listen, yeah, Sebastian. Yeah, big shout out to Nerds of the Round.
Yeah.
I actually, yeah, catch the Crazies. That number
Yeah.
4 is going to be coming out soon, also. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah, there are a few things that we're working on also as well. So next year it's going to be, catch the craze, the podcast.
Mhm.
So it's been busy. Sam's moving to Texas, so we're
I
putting it
know.
on hold for a little while now. But in September we'll start it back up and
Let me ask you.
do interviews.
With all the stuff you guys do between you and Sam and
Hmm.
everything, how do you have time for a day job?
Oh, oh,
I mean,
I
seriously.
hate the day job. I'm like all day. So all day during the day, all I'm thinking
Mhm.
about is what I'm gonna be doing after I get out of work. Like
Yeah.
that's just the way. That's just the
Oh
way
yeah,
it
yeah.
is. You know what I
I'm
mean?
usually that way. Right now, I'm happy. I'm working from home with some stuff,
True.
but during like I guess the school year, I work in
Yeah,
schools sometimes, and it's like when I'm in there,
I
can't wait to
know.
leave. Can't wait to
I
leave.
know,
Don't want to
right?
go. It's so hard.
Now,
It's so
do you? So you were teaching. Now, would you like during tests? Would you
well.
be like while they're taking the test, you're like drawing your stuff, or like you know
Well,
what I
no.
mean?
Well,
Like,
here's the thing. What I do as in the school systems, I have visited schools. I teach kids about comics and animation, but usually I work as in the actual school system. I work as a substitute teacher, or I'm doing what I call like enrichment work with the
okay,
kids. So I'm teaching them
okay,
art and I'm teaching them things like
gotcha.
little thing like I'm using work with the younger kids, and when I'm drawing with them, for example. Um, I'll look up like I'll go through those made up holidays and oh, it's National Pretzel Day and
Okay.
here's how we draw a pretzel vendor
Right,
and
right, right, right.
and we get through the day like that or it's they have National Eat a Pizza or Burger Day so I look those up or if it's like National Be Nice Day. What is something that is nice? Like it's so
Yeah,
I'll go through when I know I'm doing the enrichment stuff. I go through the calendar to see if anything falls on that particular day I'm working or within the next couple of days.
that's
So I
awesome.
could talk to them. If
Yeah,
it's a thing about like Earth Day, let's draw some nature and some things like that, and
yeah.
I'll do otherwise if there's nothing going on, I just do it's cartooning, and um I do a lot of like fairy tale stuff with the kids.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And but I'll do it like the Jay Ward fractured fairy tale things. I
Hmm.
don't know if you remember that cartoon that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
on
yeah,
the Bullwinkle and stuff.
yeah.
So I would do a lot of like silly, like there's a drawing I do when I do Cinderella where the fairy godmother messes up, so she's wearing a pumpkin instead of the pumpkin being the coach, and
That's
the
cool,
whole thing. So
man.
I do a lot of silly stuff like that. So it's I'll do stuff like that. Hansel and Gretel sometimes my favorite because I get to draw candy and the witch and stuff. So
Nice.
yeah,
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 actually, this is, I guess this will be a good time to tell everybody that
yeah.
you're also going to be at NBN Con.
Yes, in Biancan.
Yeah,
I was going
yeah,
to start mentioning that. Yeah.
I'm gonna be on there as well, and I'm gonna be doing a podcasting panel and also a writing panel. But I know
Oh,
you're
that's
doing
awesome.
an animation panel,
I'm doing an
so that's
animation.
cool.
Yes, my
Yeah,
panel will be on
yeah,
how to animate in Photoshop.
yeah. That
Yes,
I was like, I may have to go check that out because
definitely,
I,
dude.
I want
It's
to see, I want to see how
I'm
that
I'm
goes there.
actually teaching it this fall for an art center too. How to
Oh,
animate in
nice.
Photoshop.
Oh, wow.
Uh, yeah, I'll talk about that off air with you. I don't like to say the locations I'm actually
Yeah, yeah,
working
no, no,
at
no,
on air,
definitely.
but
But that's gonna be interesting. So
yeah,
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 NBN Con is August
the
28th and
28th,
29th for
29th, and
everybody
I think
watching.
I'm
I'll
going
be
on
on
the
there.
28th.
Yeah, me too. Yep,
Yeah, the
yep,
28th is the
28th.
day I'm doing. I think it's 12 or 1 o'clock. I got to look again, but I think
Yeah,
it's either 12 or 1 my workshop
yeah.
is. And yeah, you guys come on, learn to animate. And
That's gonna be awesome.
I got a fun thing planned, I think, for that.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. I got to check it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be on at 11. That's I believe that's gonna be the writing panel, and then at 3:30 we have the podcasting panel.
Cool.
So that's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I wish it was in person, but I guess. with the
Yeah,
pandemic and all that other
listen, I'm
stuff.
okay with virtual stuff
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
I mean, I did a panel at Eternal Con with Ramon Gill, and I'm
Hmm.
blanking on the other guy's name now. But it was Ramon's panel. He asked me to come on it, and it
Yeah,
was fine. We distanced enough. Everything was great.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
with everything going on and the forcing to wear masks now in places, and
yeah.
it's not. I don't know if it's comfortable to. You can even hear people talk. We're all muffled, and
That's the problem. Yeah,
yeah,
that I think that's going to be a big problem when you're at a convention and we're trying to sell our product and we have this thing in our room and people, what did you say? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's going to be very, very tough. So we'll see if even New York Comic Con happens at this point.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I saw who was it? Eric Larson posted today that he's not going to be going.
Mm,
I know that I got approved for my pro badge, but I
yeah,
decided not to pay for it. I'm not going to
gotcha.
go. I mean,
Yeah.
there were a couple of meetings I wanted to set up and a few
Hmm.
friends I wanted to see, but I'm
Yeah,
just like,
I know.
I'm not going to do it. I don't want to. I don't want to take the risk, medically
Yeah,
for me.
I
But
got you.
but what there'll be other shows, other ways. Everything's virtual now at the moment. Yeah, I
Yeah.
won't. I could probably get those meetings virtually now. So
Sure. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. You're right.
So
I do definitely want to start hitting the road next year. And it's almost like what we said at the end of 2020, next year,
yeah, yeah,
2021. And now it's like 2022.
yeah.
So let's see. Let's see what happens.
Well,
But
as long as the summer, as long as by like next spring, next summer is okay. I want to be in shows again.
yes. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will have stuff. I took this time off, not just medically and not just pandemic reasons, but I wanted to build product,
Right.
and I'm building product right now. I have a children's book, which this week I will reformat for the publishing site I'm using.
Oh, cool.
And once that's done, my children's book will be out. It's called Oodles and Doodles. I think I may have showed you
Yeah. Yeah.
something on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'll have that out, and Dax will be out in September. And
We'll have to cross promote. You're gonna have to come
yeah,
and catch the craze and talk
I'm
about that
happy to.
stuff.
I love talking to you
So
guys.
yes, please.
Yeah,
But yeah, no,
but
this yeah. Listen, I'm happy. I'm glad, and thank you so much for allowing me to come on
oh,
and
dude,
talk shop
anytime.
with you.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you like the books, man. That
Oh
that's always
yeah.
I always get a little nervous about it. I'm like, oh man, I hope they're like,
Yeah.
because what do you guys say? It sucked, George. Like, listen,
Yeah.
we're canceling the show today. Uh, I don't want to talk to you about this thing. This thing
Yeah.
was garbage. But yeah, no, I'm glad. I'm glad you did
Yeah.
enjoy them. So that's cool.
No, no,
Thank
I
you.
enjoy. Listen, it's hard for me not to like a story. I mean, it has to be really bad for me not to like. I read everything. As a rule, I don't read horror just because I'm not into horror
Yeah,
comics.
yeah.
But if I had to, I would. You
Right.
know,
Hmm.
I read sci-fi, I read fantasy, I read superhero, I read animal characters, I read it all.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
care. I love being taken to new places, new worlds, new stories. Um, as the only way it's going to be bad for me is if the story itself is bad. I could deal with even
Gotcha.
poor art, but
Gotcha.
I can't deal with poor story.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
and you'll find, like you were saying, like the independents, they're doing a lot now. I'm finding, a lot of the independents are starting to hit the same level as mainstream
Mm,
in
hmm.
quality of what they're
Yeah,
putting out.
yeah.
And
I
I don't
agree.
know if Kickstarter is helping with it. All these companies coming out to print for us.
Hmm.
I don't know what's doing it. Maybe it's the new mindset. Maybe
Yeah,
it's everybody's unhappy, because I know I'm unhappy with a lot of the stuff that's in
true.
mainstream these days. I want to read other types of stories. Yeah, listen, superheroes aren't my go-to thing these days. But if I see an indie creator with a superhero book, I'm not going to turn it away because it's a superhero book.
Right.
I will sit down, I'll read it, and if it's good, I'll continue. But there's
Yeah,
so many people doing so many good things
yeah. I
that
agree.
that when I started in '97 self-publishing, there are people I don't see at shows anymore.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I like I said, I've been doing this. I met you the first time, like we got friendlier during the pandemic
Yeah.
doing all
Yeah.
these shows, but I met you what? I don't even know how many years ago
Yeah.
at Kids Comic
Kids
Con.
Comic Con. Yes.
And that
Yes.
was, we're going back, could be what, 8, 9 years maybe?
Yeah. It was a while ago. Yeah.
So
It
I've
was a
known
while
you,
ago.
I've seen you at shows. You didn't disappear really,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Um, but that's the thing. It's like people come and go, but I'm starting to see a lot of the same people at shows now that
Right.
I've seen for the same amount of years, that they're still putting out work. And it's not just that one book. that they had 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
They're still creating, they're still putting books out. They people are getting serious, I
Hmm.
think, about this a
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah,
And
I think that a lot of it too is the social networks, because
yeah.
back in the day, it was hard for you to find an artist if you're a writer, right?
Mhm.
Because you would have to go on DeviantArt or whatever,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
was just a harder way to communicate through email and stuff like that. So it was like, all right, forget that. Now you can go on Instagram and you can message an artist and say, hey, I have a book. You want to work on it?
Yeah.
Sure. Now all you're talking about is just payment. Now it's just talking, and I think that might have also done it, is the
Yeah.
fact that now artists are getting paid for their work. Back then, it was like, hey, let's work on something together, and
Yeah.
if it takes off, we'll just split something. Whatever. It was always work, not even for hire. It was just, let's just see what
It's just
happens with this artwork. So the artwork wasn't, it was like, all right,
well,
I'll
and
just
and
do
it's hard
whatever.
to
But
get have artists meet deadlines if we don't have.
correct.
I've done work for people. I've done it for free. Um, I've done it for obviously payment. But when you don't pay me,
Hmm.
it takes a lot of time
It's gonna
to
take
get work
longer.
out of, because I don't care about it as much
Correct. You're
as
not getting paid.
somebody
Yeah.
paying me for it. If you're
Yeah.
paying me for
Yeah.
it, oh,
Hmm.
I'm very interested in what you got going on.
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and I mean, this
Yeah.
isn't me being a jerk or anything. I got to pay my bills too.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and as a writer, and I've done this, I've written stories in 20 minutes, but it's going to take me 6 months to draw what I just spent 20
Yes.
minutes writing. So for
Yes.
me to waste my time for 6 months and not get
Yeah.
paid
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not a good,
Yeah.
a smart idea.
Yeah, you're talking about a back end deal where, like, if this
Mhm.
thing gets picked up, then you'll pay me. And it's like, well, how many issues are we going to get done here? Because if we're only going to
Yeah,
get one issue done, we're not getting picked up for anything.
yeah,
It's gonna,
exactly,
it's a waste of my 6 months.
exactly.
You know what I mean? So I think that had a lot to do with the quality. Is they're
Mhm.
getting, artists are getting paid now.
Yeah,
And so, like you said, when you're getting paid, things are going to get done.
yeah,
Things are going to get done. So, but yeah, no, it's interesting.
yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna start wrapping up because I know you said you were on kind of like a time frame today, which is fine. I mean, listen, I'm sure we could talk for a while, but
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
yeah. But I want to thank you for coming on. I had a really fun talking tonight.
Yes. Thank you, Mike.
And
Appreciate you.
I really, really loved what you got going on here. Wonder Duck will be one of my recent future purchases. I'll have to go on Amazon or something really soon to pick it up. And
Thank you.
I need to finish that story that I got there.
Yes, yes,
It
yes.
is
Thank you.
really fun. And the art, I just want to say the art is gorgeous throughout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did a really good job.
Yeah,
Big,
fantastic.
yeah, huge thank you to Big Cats too, who now go by Studio Nine Lives.
Studio
They
Nine
actually
Live.
have done animation for Castlevania. They've done like little snippets. So
Oh,
they're
really?
they're
For the show, right? Or
for
for
the
the
show,
game?
yeah, Castlevania
Okay.
for the show,
All right.
yeah.
Cool.
They've
Cool.
done some
Yeah.
of the anime. So they've really, since I've met them, they've actually also progressed, and they've been kind enough to work with me still. Like
That's
we've kept that connection. So I really
that's awesome.
appreciate Brian Burrito and the guys over at the studio. So
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah, if you guys have a chance, check them out. They're also on Instagram
Cool.
and online. Yeah,
Cool.
Studio
Cool.
Nine Lives. Check them out.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on. I'm going to drop you backstage, do my
Yes,
little
sir.
wrap up, and I'll just see you in a
Thanks,
few.
Mike.
All right. Thank you. All right. So that was fun. I'm sure, George and I could have gone on for a while. There's so much more that me and him could chat about, but I'm thrilled that I got to share Wonder Duck with you and Russ 5377. I always forget the number, so I got to look at it for some reason. But Russ 537, they're both fantastic stories. Seriously. Wonder Duck, like I said, I lean a little more to because I draw cartoon animals and I like that type of stuff. But Russ is fantastic. I need to get both at some point, but I really want to read more Wonder Duck like ASAP. But you guys go to his website. Go to George's website, getyourmeds.com with a Z. You can get all the info for buying stuff. Head over to Webtoons and look up Russ 5377 so that you can read the first chapter, because you're going to want to buy the rest the second you read it. I'm telling you. All right. So you guys, you have a great rest of your night, great rest of your week, and I will see you next week with another guest. All right. Bye, guys.